Hey guys, I'm on a rare visit up here to the shop with my wonderful Motorola phone that will not switch to camera. So you're just gonna have to take the view you get. Just thought I'd do a little update on how things are going. So I've got my little cricket golf cart up here. I did it more of a joke because my friend Tommy, when we've been traveling, he's been coming up here working on his car and stuff quite a bit. And I thought, well, I'll just stick it on the lift and he'll come up here one day and wonder what the heck's going on. But actually, uh, in their infinite wisdom of how to build things cheap, they only tacked on these two nuts, which the idea of these is that you have a bolt on each one of these. And if you see the angle here, this golf cart collapses down. So this actually slides forward. And whenever you're driving it, you're supposed to tighten those two bolts up. Well, those two bolts were over an inch longer than they needed to be tight. And it hit the tailgate of my old truck enough times that it actually broke this. So what needed to happen is the bolts should have been shorter. Then they wouldn't drag and wouldn't hit things that you run over, and it wouldn't have broken that. So I need to fix that and then put two new bolts in there that are shorter. So that's kind of one little project on my little Cricket SX3. Other than that, well, as you can see, the shop's a bit of a mess. Um, and the reason is, as I mentioned in a previous video, that we sold the other house that we were going to make into a rental and ultimately, build another shop on and get rid of this property. So right now we're stuck with this for the shop. So I had to condense some junk that I had in the different houses into this shop. And it's always been kind of a catch-all for junk back there. So oh man, the 49. I actually came up here. I'm going to go ahead and take it to the house in town, and I'm going to keep it there. But if you look at it, you notice it's got a lean again, and it's back to the same thing. It's these dadgum. Um, I'm not going to say it. Let's just say, fittings that you buy for adapting different size pipe threads are not of the highest quality anymore. And they get sourced from certain parts of the world, and they're not sourced from the U.S. anymore for the most part. So it keeps, no matter what I do, Teflon tape, Teflon sealant, liquid, whatever. So I'm just going to have to buy new fittings and hope that I get luckier this time. I've got it down to a science. I mean, it's really straightforward to take an airbag out now. Can do it in about 15 minutes, get it out and replace the fitting, put it back together. But I'm getting tired of doing it. And I come up here, I've been gone a couple of days, I come back up here and the car's got the lean again. So it's a slow leak, but it's enough to be annoying. And then you got the IROC, which continues to sit here, and it is, waiting on something to happen. But there's that sloppy best cam just sitting there waiting. I did actually find my little engine caddy that I had bought to put this on, and well, actually, I also ended up with a four-wheel engine stand over there, which is nice. Tommy left that for me, so now I don't need the caddy. But in any case, I'm going to take that, take the LS back out, get it on there, get it torn down, start working on ring gaps and inspections and putting in the cam and all that. No matter what happens to this car, I'm going to try to definitely get this engine in here running, even if it's just naturally aspirated. I want the car to be driving if at all possible. Now, the problem being, my rheumatoid arthritis has really become a factor in my life progressively more this year, particularly in the last few months. So, it's really getting in my way. I was going to come up today and work on that car, get it on the lift, and do some things to it. And I actually almost didn't even come up here to get it because I'm just not feeling well and I don't feel like working on anything. But we had to come up to the north side anyway, so I thought, well, I'll just go on up there and get it. I can drive it back down to town and use it for a day or two, and then I'll take it back up, get it on the lift. That gives me a few days to work on this too. So basically, for the rest of this month, I have a pretty open schedule in terms of my time is there. If I'm physically able to do this, I'm going to come over and get some things done. So on the 49, basically one of the main goals I have to get started on is to get this new Dakota Digital instrument cluster in here. So it's basically designed to look like the original, although the gray area and the black areas are reversed, but it adds a tachometer and it adds a screen, which I wasn't too crazy about. While I appreciate having more data available, I really didn't want to see a digital display driving down the road. So that's a disappointment, but it's the only gauge out there that looks like the original that is OBD capable. So that's what I went with. I decided to give it a shot. Maybe I'll get used to it. I have a digital gauge in here now, which is what I'm using for my fuel and fuel level and mile per hour, and is an OBD2 gauge too. Now, here's the downside of this gauge. It's not just a bolt-in, put it where the original one was and plug OBD into it. No, sir. It's got a box. And the reason it has this is because it also has all of your indicators, turn signal, high beam, check engine, all kinds of things, none of which apparently are going to be conveyed with OBD because it's not a actual serial bus reader. It's just an OBD scanner for a few of the perimeters. So other things, oil pressure on this engine is fake. You see that fuel input? That's a big negative because this car has serial fuel level. I'm not sure what I'm going to do about that yet. I'm really not too excited about having to run a dang wire. But the speed input does not, that can actually come from OBD. Temperature is OBD. I don't actually really know. I mean, there might be other things that convey OBD, but I highly doubt the fuel level is. My research is telling me that, yeah, you're not going to get that from the OBD on this particular computer. Now, some of them do, but in 2008, this computer does not transfer the fuel level, apparently. Although it is on the serial bus for the factory gauge cluster, so that kind of sucks. But in any case, I'm going to give that one a shot, and if I don't like it, then I'll just sell it, and I'll go back to my original plan, which was an Arduino-controlled factory gauges with servos in them. So that's kind of my deal. But we're going to take this back to town. I'm going to take that with me, and I'm going to start my initial process of trying to get that new instrument cluster in there and at least get the speedometer data going. So that's kind of where I'm hoping we're going to be. I actually bought a spare dash instrument cluster from a Trailblazer because I want to break out the turn signal and high beams and all that out of that board that feed the factory LEDs on that. Take that LED power signal and try putting it to the input of that analog converter and see if I can basically extend the factory harness that goes to the instrument cluster, bring it under the front seat, mount the original board out of the original instrument cluster, the backup one that I bought, but the same as it would have come with in the Trailblazer, and then run wires from that directly into that adapter for the gauge cluster. The idea is there's one wire that goes from that adapter, which I'm going to put under the seat, goes up to the instrument cluster, and there's one wire from the car, a harness, I should say, that would go to the factory cluster. And if everything goes well, I have a nice little box under the seat with all that in it, and just a few wires go in it, and then it sends the data out to the instrument cluster in the dash. Now, another problem. Of course, there's always another problem, right? Wire length. So they've got some connector. I hope I can figure out what that connector is and order another one and extend it because I don't like cutting factory-made cables. Usually makes your warranty go to crap. But in any case, the wire is not long enough to locate this box under the seat where I need it to be. And there really just isn't any room. You look in the dash, I mean, it's full of windshield wiper arms and defrost and vent hoses and other things. There's really not a good place to mount that box. And the only place I can really see to do it is under the seat, where there's a nice big open space there, and there's no reason not to put it. Plus, it would keep it, if there were a leak in the car, it's not going to get wet unless I drive through a flood, and I'm not going to be doing that. Still don't have the horn working because I don't know what it is about the steering wheel, but it does not want to work correctly. It gets stuck on. I've tried every adjustment I can, so I bought a new ring for the new plastic ring, which I've got at my house, which I'm going to try to put in there, but have not mounted the factory horns yet either. So, in fact, for right now, unfortunately, I don't even have a working horn, which is not cool. But there are the horns from the Trailblazer, and I would like to have that working. Still haven't touched anything else on this car. I gotta tell you guys, I hate to keep harping on this RA thing, but it's just pretty much, it's just not feasible for me to do very much at any given time. Is this gonna work? Look at that, man! They must have updated it. All right, I can take off these dang reading glasses. So this phone has not allowed me to reverse the camera since I've had it, and the button just isn't there. And I think the Galaxy S8 and S9 does that, at least on certain apps, but this one was not allowing me to do it in YouTube, and now it is, so that is cool. Anyway, this crap is kicking my butt. That's all I'm going to say about that. And so nothing is getting done up here in the cars, and I'm not happy with it, but that's one reason that my limited comeback to YouTube is pretty much not producing anything. So anyway, speaking of which, what do you guys think about all the stuff that just came out on the Twitter files of the censorship? Pretty much the reason I left social media in general is that by participating in it, you are accepting the conditions that they're putting on you. And I just don't like censorship. So that's why I got off, and I feel a bit vindicated right now, to be honest. But, it is what it is, so we'll see how the cards play out. But that's about it. I've been selling parts off the IROC, the old Gen 1 stuff. The turbo system is gone. Some of the intake stuff, exhaust parts. So this is going to be, if this car proceeds, it will be all new. I mean, the exhaust, the fuel system, everything's going to be new. How the exhaust is going to be. Is it going to be a 4-inch pipe out the fender, or is it going to be 4-inch to the back? Remains to be seen. If I get the car going, then we'll find out. And if I don't, then I guess it doesn't matter. But yeah, hopefully we're going to be doing some work on this. Maybe in the coming month or two. Maybe not. Just have to see what happens. On that same thought process, and speaking of my rheumatoid arthritis, which I don't recommend taking that ride, but if you do, then you have different medications available, and so they always start you on DMARDs, which are typically, it's a pill, and whatever they do, they change the way things happen. Well, for me, they make me sick to the stomach, dizzy. Just everyone I've tried has given me something. So now I've moved to biologics, which are, well, let's just say that if you had to pay cash retail price for the biologic, you could definitely get the IROC going with the, spider webs. See what happens if you don't go in your shop. You could definitely get this going with what those things cost. But anyway, so I went, posted on my Facebook feed here a few days ago with an IV. So they gave me the first dose, and it hasn't killed me yet, and it hasn't really bothered me. So that's two signs that are good. But then by the same token, I'm hurting like hell since yesterday, so it hasn't helped either. But it's not supposed to necessarily work that quick. But my thoughts are that if it's going to help me significantly, it's probably going to take effect pretty quick. And I'm disappointed that I've kind of reverted back to where I've been at for the last month. So we'll see how that goes. So I'm going to load up in this car, take it to town, take it to dinner. Got to air up that bag on the left side again. That's getting very annoying. But that's about all that's going on, guys. So I guess I will check out of here for the night. Hope you guys have a good weekend. Merry Christmas and all that. And who knows? Maybe I'll be uploading a video soon with this engine out and on the engine stand. So we will see you guys later on.